Thank you for joining Bowtech Live and the Nate Zielinski Podcast. This is all about education, scouting, building patterns, and being successful on public land in a do-it-yourself style hunt. A huge thanks to all of our partners, including Bowtech Archery, Diamond Archery, Excalibur Crossbows, Vortex Optics, Ford Trucks, Slumberjack, Bass Pro Shops of Denver, Mr. Heater, Turkey Creek Studios, Ripcord Rest, Tight Spot Quivers, and Black Gold Sights. Join us every Monday night live at 7 p.m. Pacific on the Bowtech Archery or Nate Zielinski Facebook pages, bowtecharchery.com, and or the Nate Zielinski YouTube channel. And remember, tag and share this live feed with your friends and bring your big game questions. And here's your host, Nate Zielinski. All right, welcome. Guys, really excited to be here today. Again, I'm Nate Zielinski. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. It is the heart of hunting season across the country. A lot of animals are hitting the dirt. It's been an amazing season so far. It seems like it's been an amazing season everywhere. Again, the deer count continues to go up. More big bucks have been harvested than anything I've ever seen. A lot of big bulls are going down. We have a personal bull going down that we're going to show you footage of here in a second, so we're really excited about that. Again, like we just talked about, if everybody's on Instagram, we're going to be showing a lot of videos tonight. So if you can't see those videos on Instagram because we're throwing to a player, make sure that you go over to the Bowtech Facebook page. Speaking of Bowtech, guys, everything here tonight is brought to you by Bowtech Archery. So a huge thanks to Bowtech for letting us go live from their page, letting us go live from their entire platform of that. So huge thanks to them. You can also be watching on the Diamond Archery Facebook page, as well as the Black Gold Sights, Ripcord Rest, Tight Spot Quivers, Bass Pro Shops of Denver. Huge thanks to them for letting us go live on their page. Excalibur Crossbows. I'll tell you, I shot an Excalibur crossbow a lot this week getting ready for a bear hunt, and it's been a ball. I really enjoy shooting that Excalibur crossbow, so huge thanks to them. Huge thanks to Tightline Outdoors, our homepage, hosting from there. So everybody that's watching locally on Tightline Outdoors, huge thanks to you, as well as the Nate Zielinski Facebook page. So again, we're going live from a lot of pages. We're going to do our best to field the questions from all those pages. But again, huge thanks to Bowtech for providing that platform to go live from all those different pages. Also, some of you might have got a text from Bowtech. Randy Newberg sent out that text, so huge thanks to Randy for sending out that page to remind everybody to come watch us live. And again, if you're new to this page, make sure you watch Randy's page this coming Wednesday. Again, you want to talk about an elk expert, it's Randy Newberg. So make sure you tune into his page live on Wednesdays. There's also Chef Collins and a lot of other great things happening Wednesday. So make sure you stay tuned to all those pages. You're going to have a lot of education and a lot of information. Now, guys, again, if you're just tuning in, I'm Nate Zielinski. Guys, bring your questions. We want to really encourage that. If you have questions, you're struggling, whitetails, elk, muleys, bears, whatever the case may be, send your questions. Comment below, share it, tag your friends. Again, bring them all in here. Let's have the conversation. Let's answer the questions. Let's make sure everybody is successful this coming hunting season. Again, if I don't know the question, I'll tell you that. Hey, this is a little bit out of my league. If it's something that I have knowledge of, I'll definitely answer that question and hopefully bring, again, that current information to make you more successful. Like we do every week, we're going to talk about our personal hunts. Last Monday, a week ago from now, the sheep opener for one of my good friends, Chad, was the following Tuesday. So I spent a couple days in the field with him. We actually put 2 days in the field. We spent Tuesday, Wednesday in the field, and all those fires from Montana and everywhere else were burning so strong. We had a lot of hard time with smoke. Obviously sheep's, generally speaking, a higher country animal. Usually you're glassing afar. And even with the best optics, we had a hard time seeing these sheep. So we actually backed out. Actually be back in the woods this coming week for sheep. We had to pull out for about 5 days just because there was so much smoke. We just didn't have any good vision to see these animals. Definitely didn't want to walk around and get too close and booger up any of these animals. So it's been a couple times in the wood. Now, we're actually throw to a clip of that hunt. We're going to talk about this unit. Most sheep hunts and most sheep hunters are used to dealing with extremely high elevation. You have opportunities to hunt, 10, 12, 13, 14,000 feet. And generally speaking, these sheep are well above tree line. They feed above tree line. They bed above tree line. So generally speaking, on a sheep hunt, the hardest portion of the sheep hunt is usually the terrain getting to these animals. In our situation, we don't have that much tree line to hunt these animals. And most of these animals are in lower lying country. They're around rivers, they're around rocks, some of them are in burn areas. It's a tough unit. A lot of times you can get a tag somewhat easier in this unit. But so far in the past, I don't know how many years, 15 years that there's been sheep tags, I don't believe there's ever even been 2 rams killed in this unit. There's a couple tags available, but it's a hard unit. Again, the success has generally been 1 sheep per unit. It's not a super high success rate. It's rough for the fact that they live in timber. They live in canyons. It's not a traditional sheep hunt, so it's tough. Now, we're going to pan to a video here real quick. This is opening day. So again, opening day, starts at 6:05, I believe, was legal shooting line on that first day.
There's the biggest
and right here, we have a sheep. So this is a ram 5/8 curl, probably a little better than half. He's heavy, but he's not crazy heavy. We're actually going to throw a picture right now just so you can see the picture of this animal. Again, if you're on Instagram, go to the Bowtech page, Facebook page, and you'll see all these videos. So right there, you can see that animal. We'll give you time. You can zoom in, touch that screen on your phone, on your device, zoom in on that. We have this animal, believe it or not, very close. We're sitting at 300 yards. We're in a situation where it's a rifle tag. He could easily make the poke and put that animal down. The other big benefit is we're not that far away. We pulled off on a road, hiked in on some fairly easy terrain, and a 20-minute hike we got right on this ram. So check a look at that. We'll pan back to me. So again, this ram was right there. I mean, 300 yards, easy shot. And it's a hard decision. So we're talking about a guy who, a lifetime sheep hunt, very excited, took a lot of points to draw this. Some people draw it in 4 years. I believe it took him 9 or 11 years to get this tag. But you're looking at the stats. You're telling yourself, hey, there hasn't been a lot of sheep killed, generally 1 a year. There is some big rams in this area, but being lower country, they're really susceptible to lion kills. So a lot of the sheep in this area go down to lions, so they don't have that high terrain. So it's an area where we know we have a handful of big rams. I forget what the number is. There's like 13 to 20 rams maybe in this area. I think in total there's 70 sheep total in the area section that we're hunting. A lot of ewes, a lot of immature rams, and a handful of real big rams. We have seen in the past 90 days 2 rams that are between that 3/4 and full curl. One of them's just brushing that full curl. We haven't seen those rams in about 40 days. I've been looking hard but haven't seen them. Then you run into this guy, obviously not quite what we're looking for. Again, he's not that 3/4 curl. That's what we tell ourselves. That's what my friend told himself, Chad. Hey, 3/4 curl, I'm taking the shot. This ram's in that 5/8. What do you do? Comment. What would you do? Again, you've spent 11 years in the tag. He has another 20 days to hunt until the end of the season. Is this ram going to be available? Should you shoot it now? We always tell ourselves, don't pass up on the first day what you would take on the last. Again, there's a lot of morals and a lot of just overall thoughts going through your head right now. Hey, do I take it and be successful? He's in front of me. I have the shot. Do I pass up, maybe never see that again and go home unsuccessful? Or do I tell myself, hey, I'm waiting for that 5/8 or that 3/4 curl ram, that full curl ram that we saw 40 days ago? Let's hunt hard and find him. What would you do? I know that my buddy Chad was leaning on me. Hey, what should we do? I'm like, man. Personally, I think we should pass up, hunt hard, but again, at the end of the season, if we're unsuccessful, you hate to have that thought process of, hey, I really wish I would have taken that ram. So that's our first hunt that we went on last week, Tuesday, Wednesday. Ask yourself, what should we do? Comment below. Should we take that ram? Let him walk. Obviously, I know what we did. We let him walk, but what would you do? What would you have done? Should we go out and try to find that ram again and put him down, or keep looking for those bigger rams? That's the question of the day. Now, other thought process, we actually got tied up again. We were looking for sheep for the first couple days of that week. Then we actually went scouting for some animals. We obviously, the last couple weeks, we've been talking about Ricky, been talking about big elk. I have not had a chance to hunt with Tim. Everybody knows the hunts that were going on. It's, again, the director of media here at Bowtech, Tim. We're on a very typical hunt. That's why we've been trying to walk you through this hunt, because he was in Oregon last week for a couple weeks at the Bowtech headquarters. So he was not in the woods. I actually had some good bulls, found Ricky, but again, we didn't have a chance to hunt him because Tim was overall out of town, so we didn't have anybody to hunt. Then last week, Saturday was actually opening muzzleloader here in Colorado, and I actually joined a friend on a muzzleloader hunt on Saturday. Had a big bull located and had an unbelievable hunt. So we're going to walk you through that hunt real quick, which was Saturday. didn't. I actually hunted bears on Sunday, which we'll talk about here in a second. And then we actually went out in the woods with Tim this morning. So a lot of hunts, but very scattered. Hunting here, hunting there. Again, we want to bring you real life situations. So many of the pro hunters out there, the guided situations, they hunt for, 5 or 10 or 15 days straight until they put that animal down. We're bringing you a very real life situation. How many of you can hunt 15 days in a row? Not many of us. So we're really doing the traditional sparse here and there weekends, things like that. And we're walking you through that hunt. You can learn from it, learn the mistakes, learn the success, and be successful with that. So we're going to talk about another hunt here real quick. So I have a friend. He's got a muzzleloader tag. We went out that first morning of muzzleloader last Saturday, just 2 days ago, and got on some good bulls that first morning. They weren't quite big enough. This guy really wants a good bull. He wants that 330, 340, 350. He wants that trophy class bull. He's got a muzzleloader tag. You can shoot a little further. You can hunt the rut. You can take some shots that are kind of awkward per se. You can shoot just different angles on them. You can shoot that quartering to you, that quartering away. You get a lot of little perks that you can't maybe get with an arrow. So we went out Saturday morning, got on some animals, didn't quite happen. Then I'm actually sitting really high, and we're covering ground, looking through optics. It's like 2:30 in the afternoon. So I'm looking through the Razor spotting scope right here, the Vortex Razor, and we're glassing this high country, tree line and stuff just a little bit below it. And all of a sudden I look down in these like overgrown willows. So we're talking like 10-foot willows with grass all around, almost like pasture ground, low right at the base of the mountain. And all of a sudden I see a little 4x4 bull walk through my screen. Now, most of the animals in this area are running hard. Most all the animals are a part of a harem. So a young bull like that would generally be a satellite bull for a large group of cows and a large bull. So we're glassing and we're talking it over. My buddy Bill's with me, got a couple other hunters. We're all sitting here talking. We're like, man, what was that bull? Is he alone? Is he with another group? And we said, you know what? Let's go check it out. So we tore off the mountain, went the 2 miles down to these willows, and we got into these willows, and we start walking through, and all of a sudden we start getting into elk. And everything's close quarters. It's big, thick willows with grass around it. A little 20, 30-yard shooting lane type stuff. So we're actually coming through all these willows, and we see cows, we see bulls, and everything's close quarters. And all of a sudden, it starts raining. I mean, raining, cats and dogs. So unfortunately, our 4K camera, which you're looking at right now, you're watching me on right now, had to put it away. So we don't have great footage because it was raining so hard, just not good conditions. But this is real life. We're not filming a TV show. We're not Hollywood. So we continued with the hunt, using cell phones, using GoPros, trying to do everything we can to get some footage. Regardless, we're into elk. It's raining, cats and dogs, and all of a sudden these elk are everywhere, right in the middle of this herd. We're pushing them as we're trying to sneak through here. We're bumping into cows, and they're running over here, and they're hitting this herd, and they're running over here. To be totally honest with you, it was full-blown chaos. Elk are running everywhere. It's downpouring. We get a little bit of thunder, no lightning, luckily, but these elk are everywhere. And all of a sudden, we finally hear just absolutely unbelievable bugling. These bulls are screaming a couple 100 yards away. We know that we're in cows. We know we're in satellite bulls. We're really looking for that dominant bull. So we proceed almost literally through elk, working north towards these big bulls, or these big bugles, I should say, that we're hearing. And all of a sudden we start hitting a big open meadow. In that meadow, literally there's 50, 60, 70 cows. Snowy sneak up right to the edge, and unfortunately I don't have footage of this, but right in front of us, 30, 40 yards away, 50, 60, 70 head of cows work through, young bulls, and then a mature bull, about a 270 class bull, nice 6x6, walks out with these cows, actually presents a shot, but we know there's a bigger bull in the area. We hear him screaming. There's another bull, very dominant, just to our side, so we sit up literally next to this bush, to where we're sitting there. We have 70, 80 cows or animals, between the bulls, satellites, and cows over to our right-hand side at the far end of this meadow. And then we have another bull screaming hard with some cows just to the left. Now, we're set up here. Literally, I'm sitting here next to my buddy with the muzzleloader, and all of a sudden, I can peer around just to my left, and I can see cows, and I can just see tips of antlers. So I'm like, man, the bull's right there. I said, get ready. And my buddy looks at me and goes, hey, did you forget I'm left-handed? And I'm like, oh, the things you don't think about. So I'm sitting here trying to use some cell phone footage, and I could literally lean over and take a shot at this bull using a muzzleloader. But my buddy, who's left-handed, he's got to switch all the way over. He's literally got to lean way around the bush, almost out in the meadow where everything can see you, to get a shot. So it's impossible. So over the next hour and a half, we sit here. as this bull's bugling. Now, unfortunately, we're just there, and everybody knows how animals are. They know when something's up. This lead cow kind of comes out from around the bush about 20 feet from me and just has us pegged. This big lead cow, we've all been there, is just looking at me. Got me pegged, and she knows something's wrong. So we're sitting there. The big bull now does not want to walk out because that lead cow has got us busted. So we're sitting there, waiting. All of a sudden, all these cows start coming back from the other side, and all of a sudden, they all start looking at us because this lead cow's looking at us, and it kind of unfolds from there. Now, I'm going to throw to a clip here real quick. This is right before these cows come back out, so you can hear the cows talking. We're going to throw this clip, but I'm literally sitting here. We have one big bull off to our left, and we have other bulls over the other side. Again, if you're on Instagram right now, go to the Bowtech Facebook page. You can watch this. All right, so there you have some shots. So in that situation, you can actually see for a second, you could see a bull crossing the meadow. That was that 270, that nice 6x6 kind of running back and forth. Now, 5 minutes after that video, again, to explain the situation. Sorry, we don't have video footage. It was really rough, raining so hard. We have all these cows on the one side. We have another herd on this side. There's elk everywhere. And again, all these cows come filtering off from that right-hand side, and they all meet right in front of us. I mean, 20 yards, we have an entire field. That field that you just saw in that video is full of elk, and here we are sitting on the edge of it. We got two lead cows at 20 yards looking at me, and all of a sudden, it just breaks loose. These cows know something's wrong. They start stomping their feet. We have a little satellite bull barks at us, and all the animals almost, not really say trotting, but they all start turning to leave. At that point in time, I knew it was a do-or-die moment. So at that point in time, I sat up, I grabbed my bugle tube, and I bugled as loud and hard as I can. I started cow calling, literally going crazy, something you should never do on these calls, but again, it's that do-or-die moment. So I sat up, I moved out of the way, I told my buddy Bill, I said, hey, pull over here, get ready. I started cow calling this big bull, this big 6, and he's actually crazy. He's a big, giant 6 on his one side, and on his left side, right on his third point, he's got a hole, almost like a candle holder. I mean, a 1-inch diameter hole that goes about 3 inches into his horn and created a big knot, and then he kind of grew from there. So he's kind of a little goofy on the left, but still a 6 on the left. So this big 6x6 bull comes running out to figure out what's going on. I'm bugling, I'm cow calling, my buddy slides over, and literally like it was meant to be, 50 cows kind of step to the side, and there's the bull. Perfect shooting lane, no cows on either side of it. My buddy literally squeezes off a shot in a half second, and boom, connects. Devin, let's throw to what we connected to. Again, if you're on Instagram, pan over. Right there, guys, absolute mega bull, opening day of muzzleloader. Again, we always talk about the revenge season. You know, when you've had a hard time running archery, that muzzleloader comes in and just whacks them. Now, a lot of us maybe not like the muzzleloaders just for the fact that, you know, again, it's right in the middle of archery season in a lot of the different states, so some guns going off, put some additional pressure and noise on the animals. But regardless, in this hunt, it was a blast, and I wish I had better footage of it. But again, you can see that bull right there, just a big mega 6. Good fronts, good thirds, great swords. Guys, it was a ball. It was a fun hunt. So again, in total on that hunt is about 2 hours of these animals screaming. Now, the moral of the story, we always talk about personal hunts and the education that comes with it. This personal hunt was a situation that we had rain. We were watching the weather. We had cooler temps. We had rain. We always talk about how rain can mess with herds. Anytime that you have rain, it's going to make hearing harder. So the second you kind of tamper with the animal's natural instincts, all of a sudden it rains, again, they can have a hard time hearing it. It can mess up the cows. The cows start spreading out. They start to panic. The bull starts bugling harder to pull those cows in. Thunder is a major one that helps out. Lightning is another one that really helps out. Again, we hate hunting in lightning because we're holding metal, you know, with most of our weapons. But regardless, all of a sudden you get storms coming in. It was early in the afternoon, 2:30, 3 o'clock, had rain. We knew those harems were going to get messed up. We knew the bulls were going to be bugling hard to pull them back together. Allows us, the hunter, the odds of hearing these animals and allowed us to be able to suck right in. So again, not just bragging about the personal hunts, take it for that example. I know that we're looking at the forecast in a lot of the Rocky Mountain states right now, and we have weather coming in. I would plan your bow hunts around that weather. If your animals have been bedding down at 8 o'clock in the morning and not getting back up till 5 o'clock at night, if you have rain, even if it's at noon, get out there in that rain, get near those areas, and I'll tell you what, the second you have weather, it's going to mess up the cows, and I promise you, it's going to allow you to get closer to these bulls. They're going to get vocal trying to pull the cows back together, and it's going to be great. Same thing for the mule deer hunters. All of a sudden, you get a lot of rain, a lot of weather, and all of a sudden, it's going to allow you to sneak up closer because, again, they can't hear you. Their vision's a little weak. They get a little nervous, and a lot of times it allows you the odds to get a little closer, so keep that in mind. Now, that was this weekend. Now we're talking about today. Our buddy Tim, back in town, back from the Bowtie headquarters, met up this morning and said, hey, man, let's get together, let's go out. We went into the area that I saw Ricky last week. Now, again, I couldn't say I 100% confirmed Ricky, but I saw a bull that I said, hey, that's got the makings of Ricky. It was a long ways off. It was sneaking through the timber very quickly. So we went into that area this morning, got in about an hour before light, went out in the woods, literally started hiking in, crested the hill to where we thought Ricky was, and we crest the hill, and boom. The animals are screaming. We have a bull that is growling. He is chuckling. He is bugling hard. So we got as close as we could in light. So we got about 100 yards from this animal in the dark, and we just kind of stayed with him. This bull started feeding uphill to where he's going to put his cows to bed. We stayed the best distance possible. It got light out, and all of a sudden we found ourselves, in these open hillsides, kind of scrub oak. Again, not hunting real high country. And all of a sudden this bull is there. Again, we can't sneak up real close because we're out of cover. Essentially, we're in grasslands, like hunting a meadow. So it's hard to get close. Moral of the story, after we talked about this for a little while, we got about 85 yards from Ricky. We got satellite bulls and cows. So we're sitting there 85 yards from the bull of our dreams, the bull of your dreams, the bull of everybody's dreams. We're excited. Ricky's right there, 85 yards. He's actually working his cows. Now, unfortunately, all of a sudden we had some rain come in midday, and our thermal started to get weird. So we're sitting there kind of in a backwards thermal of what it should be. Instead of sucking straight down, it's kind of side hilling. And all of a sudden we start getting some weird thermals, and all of a sudden the cow kind of starts knowing what's going on. I can't say that the cow really busted us, but you can tell the cow's kind of getting uneasy. At that point in time, it's a do or die situation. So we had two options. We can go up and around to where we literally have a little knoll and we can get right to where we can take a shot at Ricky. But unfortunately, we knew our wind was swirling. We were afraid that when we get to the top of that hill, that wind would suck right down to where Ricky's at and blow him out. So we were very concerned about that. Or we had the option to try to do a really soft, subtle cow call, hoping that he would think that he left a calf behind and would circle around to get it. Now, we also knew that this is playing with fire. Last week's show, we talked to you about making an introduction, how it's rude to go into somebody else's home, being an elk's home, and just come and barging in and start talking. You always like to introduce yourself first. In the elk hunting world, we usually like to start off 150 to 200 yards away, and we start calling from that point and work our way in. We're already at that 90 yards, 100 yards. All we needed Ricky to do is to swing in on that outer circle, get us to that 60-yard shot where we know we have a very comfortable shot, and we could take that shot. So we decided, hey, we've never called to Ricky before. We have no idea how he's going to act. But we're going to do it. Again, we're too worried about our wind going the other direction. So right when Ricky kind of went over a hill, we had cows that weren't quite looking at us. We did a real soft cow call, hoping to be kind of that, again, that lost cow kind of coming in from the back of the herd. And I'll tell you what, it did not work. We now know that Ricky is not a bull that we're going to call to ever again. We're not going to bugle to him. We're not going to cow call to him. But regardless, we did a soft cow call, and all I see up over the other side of the hill is this massive rack. And Ricky, unfortunately, said, no, we're not going to do that. So he gathered his cows, and he pushed them on. So I'm going to throw you a quick clip of Ricky going the wrong direction. Here's a clip of Ricky not coming into the call. Again, you can see right there. There is Ricky. Now, guys, he's a long ways away through the spotting scope. I'm very shaky because, again, I was not planning on using the spotting scope. He was at 100 yards. We were planning on looking through a bow sight and letting an arrow fly. But as he's kind of walking away, I ripped out the spotting scope, threw the camera on it, and there is Ricky. You can see giant fronts, great thirds, super heavy, super wide, and he's got that notorious sticker point coming off that right antler. So again, that right antler, he's got that notorious sticker point. You can see right there walking away. Again, not the direction that we were hoping for. But there is Ricky. I'll tell you, he is a freakishly body bull. A lot of people are going to see that and be like, man, I don't know how big his antlers are. You know, he's one of those bulls that is not going to be fun to carry out. And I really hope I get that opportunity for him to wear me out as we try to pack that bull out. But again, that was Ricky. Now, in that situation, you can see there, he's actually went right back to rounding up his cows. So he, after calling to him, he pushed about 400 yards away and went right back into bugling and getting his cows together. We actually could have dropped down there and pursued him again, but we hunt public land as if it was a private ranch. Again, even if somebody else comes in there, again, we've had it happen a lot this whole archery season. We've had other hunters come in, campers, hikers, and kind of booger up hunts. It's what it is. We hunt public land. We're one of everybody. But we decided to back off, let him get back into his patterns, let him get back his cows. We know he's going to get right back to being patterned tomorrow, the next day, and through on the week. So we're actually probably going to rest him tomorrow just for the fact that we put pressure on him today, minor pressure. Just literally got close, made a cow call, and he kind of boogered up. But again, on a bull like that, you only have so many opportunities. So we're going to rest him tomorrow and probably get back after Ricky on Wednesday morning. Hopefully he'll be right back in that area. We assume he will. We definitely now know his bugle extremely well from being so close to it. We probably heard him bugle 100 times today. So now we very much know his bugle. He'll be easy to locate. He's got about 12, 13 cows with him, a couple satellite bulls, and we'll be able to move right on Ricky and hopefully put that animal on the ground. So again, those are some of the personal hunts. Last hunt we have personal, speaking here real quick, is I was on a bear hunt on Sunday morning actually, and I had a total change up on my bear hunt. I've been watching this big boar. He's a great bear. He's been hitting some water. He's been hitting raspberry patches. I had a great pattern. I've been waiting for good wind. We had some colder thermal Sunday morning, watching the weather. I knew we were going to have cold thermals. I knew I had good wind, so it was the first day actually sneaking in on this bear. And unfortunately, I get in there. I'm set up. I'm ready. I know where the water's at. I know where the raspberries are. Usually he's coming in for that morning drink where actually he's been feeding all night. And I actually kind of walking in, or getting set up, I should say, just off to the side of me, I actually see the bear, just a glimpse of him, actually going the other direction. Total breaking his normal patterns of what I have on the trail cam, what I've seen. Couldn't quite figure out what was going on, but the bear did not come towards me, boogered up, and I was like, man, I couldn't figure out what was going on. And all of a sudden, as it got a little more light, all of a sudden I start hearing all the birds, and all of a sudden something's dead. I sneak over the hill a couple hundred yards away, and actually an archery hunter had harvested a cow. Packed everything out, everything was great, but there was a carcass from a no-mess field dress in a gut pile, and that bear had changed up his normal pattern just for the chance that this bow hunter harvested an animal in that area. So it blew my whole pattern. Had I known that that pattern was there, I probably could have set up to where he was going towards that carcass instead of going towards his watering hole. But regardless, saw the bear, got close, but could not make that connection to actually get the shot off on that animal because of his changing of patterns. So over the next couple of days, hopefully we can get back in there, adjust to that new pattern as long as that exists, and we'll kind of go from there. So again, those are the personal hunts. Sorry that was very long-winded. Again, every week we try to bring you the personal hunts, everything we learned. So from this week, things we learned, we knew that hunting the weather, hunting rain, thunder, mixed up the herd and definitely brought us success on that big bull that you saw us on that muzzleloader hunt. We definitely had to change up with a bear. Nothing we can do there. Another hunter came in, harvested an animal, which is great for them. Just changed up our pattern. And then lastly, we learned about Ricky. A lot of you have been following the hunt of Ricky. We now know Ricky is not a bull that we're going to call to. Ricky's going to be one we're going to have to sneak up within range and just let an arrow fly undetected. Just let him vocally talk to his cows, hopefully sneak in there and make that shot in that situation. So guys, that's the personal hunts. The main topic that we're going to talk about tonight, guys, is this right here. We're going to talk about optics. The reason for that, every week we talk about kind of hot topics. We talk about things that we've seen on personal hunts, things that we saw over the week. I'm in the field every day. And I got to say, I've talked to a lot of hunters in the last week that are unsuccessful. I've talked to a lot of hunters that have not seen an animal. I've talked to a lot of hunters that don't have a pattern or a clue of what to do next. A lot of guys have changed up. Hey, I just decided to switch this area. I was hunting another area, head's unsuccessful. I'm coming here. Hey, I just got a tag, whatever the case may be. But so many people either aren't using optics, aren't looking far enough, or just really aren't detecting the animals. So we want to talk about that. Optics is the #1 key to being successful when you're out there in the field. So again, if you don't have a pattern, you're brand new, you're coming to a new area, we keep talking about going out early in the morning, listening for vocals. Once it's light out, I'm the biggest fan of going to the high point, going to the highest point you can find, and literally starting to glass. Now, a lot of people use a spotting scope, a lot of people using binos. I use the two together. I'm always going to start with my binos, glass afar, cover more area. Once I start seeing animals, a lot of times I can't tell if it's a bull or cow. I can't tell if it's a doe or a buck. You know, I can just tell that there's an animal there. Then I grab the spotting scope, I zoom in, and I find it. But if I'm actually just using the spotting scope, a lot of times I could miss something because it's such a finer area in which I'm looking. So I always start with binos and then roll into the spotting scope. But the biggest thing is use these to your advantage. Take out the glasses. If you don't have good optics, invest in a good pair of optics. I promise you, it's going to change everything you're doing. Now, again, I go to this high point. Obviously, when I first start glassing, one of the first things I do is I surround my area. So I always look at edges. Edges where food meets tree line, grass meets trees. So I always comb my areas, or my edges, I should say, first. So every time I pull up on an area, I glass all my perimeter, glass all my edges, just in case there's an animal there about to sneak in, I don't want to miss it. So I glass all my edges. At that point in time, I literally make it a grid. I actually glassed with some fairly new hunters this week, and I look at them with their binos, and they're just doing this. They're all over the place, and it's so easy to miss an animal. So personally, me, how I glass an area. Pull up on that spot, get high country, looking down, and glass your whole perimeter. Glass your whole edge with binos. Once you've glassed that whole edge, I start on one side, and I literally grid it. You can go side to side or up and down. I personally go up and down. So I start at one point, pan straight down. I mark the bush at which I started. I pull it to where my objective is on that far side of that bush, and I go straight back up to another landmark on the top of that grid. Pull it over and go down. I mean, literally as if you were grading a field, or you're picking plants, whatever you want to think about it. I literally work an entire grid of the area in which I'm glassing. Now this sounds like child play. People are like, man, you really telling me how to glass a hill? How many of you do that? The people that are very successful with optics have that plan. They glass the perimeter and they glass up and down. But so many of us aren't doing this. And I know it's happening because I talk to you in the field. I run into you, it's like, man, I haven't seen anything. And I'm like, I saw 20 bulls today. And people are in the same area and telling me that elk hunting's tough. Man, there's just no animals here. You know, they're driving on their trucks, or they're hiking through the woods. They don't have a plan. But more importantly, they're not using their optics. Spend the morning, off. You're still in the field, you're still hunting, but instead of walking through the woods, get to that high point and glass. Build a plan. Build education on your animals. But glassing is literally the name of the game. It's going to build more patterns. It's going to give you more education than anything you've ever done. So again, have that plan. Spend time glassing. If you aren't dedicating time to glassing, I promise you that's one of the biggest reasons of maybe having failure, or maybe not being successful, or being successful to the level that you want to be successful. So again, find that high point, start glassing, maybe avoid the timber for a little bit. Everybody's in different areas. Some of us are hunting, wide open tree line stuff. Some of us are hunting, areas that have a ton of meadows. Some are hunting aspens. Again, there's a million things that you might be hunting in the terrain at which you're at. I hunt a lot of it. I hunt a lot of different stuff. But with that being said, no matter what I'm on that particular day, whether it's aspens or meadows or whatever I am, I'm glassing afar and I'm learning about these patterns. And that next night or the next day, I'm actually going to go infield, get closer, and pursue those animals. But again, glassing with optics, good optics, is going to be the name of the game. Now, I gotta do one thing here, guys. These are brand new binos. I've had them 1 week. They're Vortex. Again, not to be plugging Vortex so much. We all have our optics that we like. I'm a huge fan of Vortex. But these are the brand new Furies. Now, whatever brand you personally like, again, these are the best optics in my opinion. But these are range-finding binoculars. I have to say that in the last week, this has 100% changed my game. I can't believe in the last 15, 20 years of hunting very seriously that I never had a pair of these. Now, again, you started to see them become available just in the last couple of years. But literally, I have 10 by 42 binos, amazing glass. But right on top, I hit that button, and all of a sudden I have a rangefinder that's good to 1,600 yards. So before, where you were glassing an animal, see that animal, slowly set down your binos, get out your rangefinder and click it, now you don't have any movement. You can literally sit there, stare through your binos, watch the animals, make sure you have everything going on to where you don't make a mistake, but you can also click and rangefind that animal. So in the situation of that big muzzleloader bull, instead of glassing to make sure he's clear, making sure there's no cows behind him, and then switching to the rangefinder, I made sure that I could watch the animal, make sure there's no cows, and still click that rangefinder to get the distance to make sure you have that good ethical shot. So again, guys, for me, that was an absolute huge feat. Something that, I cannot preach enough. If you need binos, check out the Vortex Furies. Again, rangefinding binoculars, amazing. It will absolutely change your life. But again, talking glassing, again, it's one of those things that a lot of times we don't think about. We think we're good at it. Do you see those animals bedded down? Do you see the tip of an ear? Especially in the sheep thing, that's one of the biggest things it teaches you. You're glassing all these rocks, and you literally see one piece of a curl of a ram horn, and that's a great day, and obviously a lot of times leads to success. So again, the moral of the story, if you're going out this week and you haven't been successful, take a morning off or an afternoon off of that physical pursuit. Go to a high point and glass. I promise. Spend the whole evening glassing. Find the animals, build the patterns. Don't just find the animal and tear off. Maybe you rest that animal one night, glass him, learn everything about that animal, and then pursue that animal on the next hunt. I promise it's going to lead to more success in the field. So again, keep that in mind. But glassing is the name of the game. It's going to make you more successful. The other thing we're talking about here before we take a question is think about using the vocals for elk. Again, I've talked to so many people that have struggled this last week. Get out in the woods early. Get out there an hour before light, 2 hours before light. Get out of the truck, hike around a little bit, but listen for these animals naturally calling. Don't provoke it. Don't go out there with cow calls and bugles. Go out there and just listen to your environment. Listen to the animals in their natural tone. Let them bugle. Let them tell you where they are at, and then make a game plan from there. But why these bulls are rutting, especially in these western states, again, that full moon set it off last week. That full moon got the rut going. It kicked it off. Allow these animals to talk and let them tell you where they're at, and it becomes so much easier. Again, glassing, listening to the vocals are the two things that, again, if you do those two things well, get out in the woods super early, listen to these animals, and again, obviously do some great glassing, I promise you're going to have more success this week as you do both of those things. But make sure you do them well. Give yourself plenty of time to listen to these animals talk. Again, everybody gets too antsy. They get out in the woods, they start cow calling, start bugling. If these animals are call shy, you ruin it from there. But again, if you just go out and let them naturally talk, it'll blow your mind what you will hear and how close you can get to those animals. And again, great glassing. Have a plan. Glass the edges. Zigzag. Make a grid, and you'll be successful with that. Now, Devin, we got a question. I know we had a couple questions coming in here in a little bit.
Yeah, we got a couple of them. First off, if Chad's watching, a lot of people are saying to pass on that ram and keep hunting.
Pass on the ram. All right, I'll tell them. That's what we did. I can tell you, as a person that's got, 9 or 11 points, he's nervous. For me, as a buddy hunting with him, I'm like, pass him up. But it's not my tag. When it comes down to it, obviously you'd rather be successful than not. So I know that he's nervous. We did pass it that day, and he texted me that night. He's like, "Do you think we did the right thing?" The next day when I got back in the woods with him, he's like, "Are you sure we did the right thing?" And I'm like, it is what it is. But we appreciate that. Hopefully we find that full curl ram. Again, we saw him 40 days ago. It's been a long 40 days, but hopefully he reappears here real soon. So.
Okay. So somebody who's hunting first rifle season, how do the harems react once the herd bull is killed?
That's a great question. I saw that come across. So a person who has a first rifle tag, so whatever state you're in, it might be early October, it might be middle of October. A lot of times you're building patterns right now. People are out scouting. They see a harem situation with a dominant bull, immature bulls, and a bunch of cows. When a herd bull gets taken, a couple things can happen. Number one, for at least the immediate situation, generally the head satellite bull, so the biggest, baddest, most mature satellite bull will step in as that harem lead, as that stud, as that lead bull in that harem. In some situations, if it's a perfect world and all the harems are developed, that will now become the head bull, the stud of the herd, and it will continue to be like that until the rut is over. But in most situations, there's going to be another mature bull that either just lost a fight with another bull and is now looking to regain a harem, or a situation of a very dominant bull like Ricky that will just take over that harem. So generally speaking, it's going to be the two situations. I would say that the average situation, so that bull that we harvested on Saturday actually already got taken up with another bull. So that actually happened later on this afternoon. I had a buddy call me and told me that another bull moved in and took up those cows. So in that situation, we had that 280 bull on Saturday with this big, 330 or 340, whatever he was. We shot that big bull, that 280, now collected all 100-something cows, and was dominating those. And then another bull came in, another 320, 330 bull, and collected that up and became, again, the back to being the stud bull. So long story short, generally speaking, after a main bull, herd bull, is taken out of the herd, usually it's going to be anywhere between 3 and 5 days, 7 days, and generally another mature bull will come in. It'll either be a bull that's just going to take the harem he has and combine it with that harem and have a larger group of cows, or there's so much fighting go on, generally speaking, as two bulls collide, obviously the loser goes independent, and they will come in and grab those cows. You'll also have the situation of big bulls that sometimes, especially early in the rut, depending on where you are, most of these animals are starting to go into heat. These cows are breeding. But if you have a situation where the cows are not quite ready, a big dominant bull will come in, he'll breed the cows that are ready. And if the other cows are not ready, a lot of times that bull will move on to look for more cows that might possibly be ready to breed. Some bulls will just stay with the cows until they're ready. Some bulls will move on and find other cows that are ready. But regardless, generally speaking, those cows go quick, and you'll be replaced with another bull, and that herd bull will try to do everything can to control those cows. But really, not to be, chauvinistic or whatever, but a lot of times the females somewhat control things. That lead cow in that harem generally will continue the patterns that they're on, and that bull is just going to continue to breed them. But the lead cow a lot of times will dictate a lot of things that are happening in that herd. So again, for whoever answered that question, I think you're going to be fine. If that herd bull does go away, I think it'll be replaced soon. Hopefully it's going to be the same quality animal, and your pattern will just continue as it has been. Got any more questions?
Yeah. I'm not sure where it went, but basically we've got, here it is. Somebody's hunting Wyoming in October. Will the rut still be going on, or it's a vague question, but...
Yeah, absolutely. Generally speaking, so here's what happens with the rut situation. So generally speaking, these herd bulls are going to gather cows. It's going to be somewhat of a small herd. The average, I'd say Western experience, so Utah, Colorado, Wyoming, Montana, the first grouping or the first breeding stock is going to be anywhere as small as 8 cows, as big as maybe 30 cows. I'd say generally speaking, that's about what the herd ratio is going to be. A big dominant bull to, get anywhere from 8 to maybe 30 cows. That's going to be a great herd. He's going to do his best to breed that. Anything more than that, 20 to 30, even though he's going to run ragged trying to keep them, he's actually only going to successfully breed a good handful of those. It's going to be so wearing on that animal trying to herd those. But that rut's going to usually, start fading out early October. At that point in time is when these bulls gather huge harems. That's when you can all of a sudden see the 60 cows, 80 cows, 100 cows. And generally speaking, those big bulls try to gather as many cows as possible. And every cow that did not take, so every cow that did not get bred during that peak rut in September will go back into heat, and those bulls will basically breed them. Even if they're not going back in heat, they're still in heat. Those bulls will make sure that they get bred in basically what we call that second rut, that early October. So generally speaking, as long as you are in that October 15th, 17th, somewhere in there and earlier, you're going to have those rut conditions. Now, the one big thing that we often talk about is the second that the guns start going off in that first rifle season. The second the guns start going off, a lot of times those bulls will split from the cows. It does not take them long to realize that being in that big harem, bugling, holding cows together, gets them killed. So I would say, generally speaking, in most of the rifle seasons, you have great bugling, great rut conditions for about 2 days. After the first 2 days of the guns going off, you're going to see those bulls pull away from those cows, and that's basically going to be the end of it. You're still going to have young bulls with all the cows. Again, those 3.5-year-olds and less will still stay with those cows, but those real big dominant bulls oftentimes are going to pull away. So again, just kind of think of that. Once the guns start going off, it can change things. So on the first rifle season, I always encourage, make sure that you do scouting. If you have, again, we always talk 60-40, but if you have, 5 days to hunt, I would spend 3 days scouting, and I would just plan on hunting those first 2 days, because building that pattern for a couple days and being successful on that opening morning is going to treat you better than getting in there late and just hunting those first 5 days of the season. So I also do a lot of calling in that first rifle season. Go out there at 2 a.m., 3 a.m., do some cow calls, locate those bulls. And a lot of times in a rifle hunt, you can walk right up in the dark to 200 yards or whatever you're capable of shooting, and literally just stay with the animals as they bugle until it gets light. The second it gets legal shooting light, take that shot and you'll be successful. So again, do a lot of the archery style hunting in that first rifle. Get close, but it's going to be successful. But again, moral of the story, 2 days into that, the guns going off is all of a sudden going to change things up. So again, I think you'll be fine as long as you're middle of October and earlier. Just make sure you make the most of the first couple days of that hunt because it'll definitely change once the guns start going off. So keep that in mind. Guys, last question we're going to ask. I actually see it coming across the prompter. We have somebody asking about bears, saying that they've been struggling in the western states looking for bears building patterns. This time of year, they're hitting raspberry patches very hard. They're also getting ready to start hitting acorns very hard. Those are the two big fatty fruits that really help them out through the winter. So those are the big things I focus on. Instead of actually hunting the raspberry patch or hunting the acorns, oftentimes I find those food sources, but I try to find water. The second these bears really start putting more energy into bulking up their weight, bulking up for an upcoming hibernation, the second they increase their diet really hard, again, a lot of these bears are super hungry in July, they're almost starving. Then finally the fall fruits, we call it, come available, sarvus berries and raspberries and whatever they're eating, berries and acorns. The second those become available, you're going to see these animals really up their intake. When they up their intake, they're really going to start having to drink more often. So the first thing I do, if I'm struggling with bears, generally speaking, find some sort of food, but then I check every water hole in the area, whether that's going to be an elk wallow, whether that's going to be a pond, whether it's going to be a creek or a river. I literally will find a creek and a drainage, and I will hike every inch of that entire creek until I look for bear tracks. Find the wallows, find the ponds, and all I'm doing is looking for bear tracks in the mud on the edge of water. Once I start seeing tracks, I know I'm in the general vicinity where these bears are at. From there, I try to start finding the acorns, find the berries, and you put a relationship between the water and the food. Set yourself up in a tree stand or a blind in those travel paths, and you're going to be successful. But again, for me personally, water is the name of the game. Check every water hole in the area. It's going to take some time to do so, but make sure you check every water hole. You're going to find bear tracks on some of the water holes. Find the nearest food, and you'll build that pattern pretty quick. But again, instead of searching every acorn patch, which can be tough, a lot of these acorn patches and this scrub oak is going to have bears. Problem is, a bear will sit down literally on its hindquarters and pull a branch down, eat all these acorns. It's hard to do. They're a big animal. They got to pluck them off. So I literally have watched bears sit for 10 minutes in one spot, grab at every branch, stand up, move 4 feet, sit back down, and grab them again. So a lot of times hunting, an oak brush patch, you might have to sit for 10 hours before a bear walks through an opening to where you actually physically see it. It can be very demanding. It can be straining on your eyes. It's very successful, but you have to spend a lot of time doing it. If you're a person like me, you see me, I can't sit still. It's easier for myself to hunt water, find tracks, and at least build that confidence that I have a lot of bears in the area, then hunt that transition between food and water, and a lot of times you'll be successful. So search down that water. I promise you it will make you successful. Guys, we're going to wrap it up there for the night. Huge thanks to Bowtech for letting us go live. Again, tell your friends. We do this every single Monday night, 7 p.m. Pacific, obviously 10 p.m. Eastern, but make sure you tag your friends. Bring them in on the conversation. Guys, we're going to carry this all the way through. Tomorrow morning, I'm actually going to spend some time with my wife. She has an archery elk tag. We're actually going to be sitting on some water holes, sitting on some wallows, actually a dust wallow and a real water wallow. She has a bow tag. We're going to be sitting in a tree stand on that. We're going to bring you some coverage from that on the Nate Zielinski page. We're also going to be going for Ricky here either tomorrow night or Wednesday with Tim. So we'll have a lot of that footage. We're going to be in the woods all week long. So make sure you stay tuned to all these pages for updates on all those. And if you do want to catch more live footage, if we get some great footage, always text the word WATCH to 313131. Again, text the word WATCH to 313131, and Bowtech will send you a notification when they do have new coverage, new media, new content. So make sure you do that. Guys, there's a lot of stuff going in, so make sure you stay current on all that. And guys, I would like to take a real quick moment. Obviously, it is 9/11. Many years ago, we had one of the most tragic accidents of all time. So I would love to remove my hat, guys, and just take a second in remembrance of everything that happened on 9/11. Again, guys, it was a major feat for this country. I know as a fisherman and hunter in this country, we value a lot of those core values. So again, our hearts go out to everybody that was involved in that. We definitely still remember everything. Also, a great moment to think about everybody that is suffering from all these hurricanes. So guys, keep that in mind. Keep everybody in your thoughts and prayers. Everybody stay safe, and we will see you next week live right here on the Bowtech Facebook page. Guys, huge thanks for everybody. Make sure you watch all the live footage coming up this coming Wednesday. Again, a lot of great stuff right here on the Bowtech Facebook page. Guys, we'll see you next week. I'm Nate Zielinski. We'll see you soon.